Have you ever wondered what games you should keep or you should lose? Find out here at Purge Reviews.
Bohemian Villages is put out by Tasty Minstrel Games, which is really one of my favorite board game companies. I like a lot of stuff they put out, but I have to say this game is a complete disaster. Now, I bought this game because the board game box said 2 players, but what you find out is that there's been misprints to the game. The game is unplayable as a 2-player game. This has not been corrected by the company. They did not refile tiles or replace the tiles that were replayed. When I contacted the company, I simply got an email that's workaround that I could play the game if I wanted to using these tiles instead of those. But anybody who buys this game should know out of the box, what the rules are in the box, the game is unplayable 2-player because of misprinting errors, and the company didn't see fit to reprint those tiles. So this game is currently being sold Amazon, board game stores across the world, but when in fact is a game that doesn't work the way it's printed. So let's set that aside and talk about the game itself. The game is a dice rolling game where you'd be rolling dice and deciding how you want to utilize those. You can add 2 dice together, you have 4 dice, 2 dice together and do an action, the other 2 dice do an action, or you can put 3 of them together and do just 1 action about what you want to do. Everything you do is to generate victory points. You'll be putting these things out. The game itself is kind of interesting, and I like it quite a bit. I wish that the printing had done more justice for it, because I think that the game is solid on its own merits, but with the current printing, I have to tell you to purge this game, stay away from it. Really, there's no use to play it, because it doesn't work out of the box. Now, with the 4 players, it does work a little bit better, but you're still going to get these infinite loops at 2 players where the game isn't going to work. And for that alone and not reprinting the game, I would just tell you to steer clear of this one. There wasn't a lot of care taken with it. It must not have sold well because they're not willing to do the reprint to fix the tiles. I just find the whole situation kind of ugly. The game is okay. I wouldn't say you're missing out on anything great, but if you see this one, buyer beware. You will not have a finished product that is printed correctly. So for that case, I would say a purge. So here's Bohemian Villages. It's a portable, slightly game. It's a little bit bigger than my hand, so it won't fit in your pocket or anything. You can kind of see exactly what's going on in the back of the box. But it is a nice little box that fits everything pretty well. You'll get a rule book, which we'll take a look at in a little bit. You're going to get some of these little chits and dice and tokens. And everything is usually your TMG goodness. You're going to get some of these tiles, and these will be player aids that you have. These will be what you'll actually be using as your board as you make them up, and they're double-sided depending on which sides of how many players that you'll be playing with. Cardboard money, and you get any number of these little meeples in 5 different colors that you'll be utilizing: gray, yellow, blue, red, and green. I should make a note that there are misprints on these tiles. The way the game comes in the box, it's entirely impossible to play the 2-player game with the rules that are here. If you do play the 2-player game with the rules that are provided, you will find yourself in an infinite loop where the game never ends because they printed it on the back. I contacted the company, full disclosure. They would not replace the tiles, nor did they reprint the correct tiles, but they did give me rules to play it with these tiles. But if you're like me and you buy this right out of the box and have an instruction manual, even though it says 2-player on here, it's impossible with these tiles to play 2-player unless you get the additional rule set from the manufacturer, which is not included. No errata. Nobody sent out new rules. And I had just bought this on Amazon, and they were very much aware of it. That's going to bother some people. Some people are going to say, hey, it's nothing. But just know you cannot play 2-player out of the box. So here's the rule book. Picture of the components, which is great. You're going to open it up kind of like this, and you're going to have this setup. Now, once again, I do want to point out the 2-player. What it tells you to do here is completely wrong. You cannot play a 2-player game with this set based on these rules. You'll find yourself in an infinite loop. Here's the course of play. The rules are here, kicking people out of spots, and a little handy-dandy chart that will tell you how you kick people out and which ones you can never. Details of the buildings on the back, what they all do. And then you're going to have a special action tiles explanation over there. And the rulebook's pretty good. I have to give it an F because the rules don't work with a 2-player game. That's mainly what I bought this for. So the rules I have to give an F. Other than the rules mistakes that are in here, which are really the misprint of the tiles, no errata for that. I would say it's pretty good. But, a rule book that doesn't include the actual rules for the game has to get an F. The setup for the game is going to be pretty tough because you have to remove certain villages from the game based on number of players, as you can see here. But because this tile right here was misprinted, you can't remove this tile from the game. There are some rules I got from the publisher, but errata and how to play were not fixed. So I'm just going to go over an overview of the game, but for the tiles that I'm using, ignore those for our purposes. On your turn, you're going to take the 4 6-sided die and you will roll these die. At this point, you can make 2 sets. So I can make a set of 8 and 6, or maybe I want to do 7 and 7, or 11 and 3. The only rule here is I could use these 3 dice, let's say these 3 dice to make a 10, but if you ever have 1 die, then you will forfeit this die and not use it. So in this case, I could put one of my people out on an 11. There isn't an 11, so maybe I want to do 7 and 7. And I could put my guys out on the 7 and 7. Or I could have done 8, 6 plus 2 is 8, 5 plus 1 is 6. I could have done that instead. So the numbers correspond to what dice that you're going to use and draft on your turn. One extra rule you have, let's say I wanted to use this 6 and all of the 6 buildings are taken, I can then kick one of my opponents out of the 6, giving him the worker back. So that would be a kick out. Now here in the rule book, you are going to have a chart of certain. You can always kick out of a farm, in a town hall, or a church. You can only do it if you do not occupy one yourself, a bakery, dairy, tailor shop, or butcher. And you can never kick anybody out of a manor, a flour mill, or a glass factory. So you just kind of have to know that as you go through. And you're going to have this handy-chandy player aid that will be able to utilize as you go through what you can utilize too. But just know certain buildings you can never, some only if you don't occupy one, and these are going to always kick somebody out. But in order to kick somebody out, every one of the buildings have to be occupied. If this one was not occupied and I wanted to place a 6, I would have to go to the one that's unoccupied. If they're all full and this guy wanted to place a 6, then I can kick somebody out. The game will end when one player has no more meeples to place at the beginning of their turn. So in the beginning of your turn, you don't have a meeple to place out. The game will end and we will go to scoring. Each of the shops in here are going to score a little bit different. So you're going to have bakeries, you're going to have butchers, you're going to have dairies, and the tailor shops, the 2, 3, 4, and 5. These, you want different shops. So you're going to have more points on the more different ones you have. Now I'm just going to take this aside, even though you have more than just one tile, and just kind of show you. So in this case, I would score 1 point if I only had 1 of them. If I was 5 coins if I had 2 of them, 12 if I had 3 of them, and 20 if I had 4 of them. Now the flour mill, if anybody goes here during the game, you're going to take one of the flour mill tokens, which will be this little chit. Now when all of them are taken or occupied, you're going to turn those tiles back into the score, and you're going to get 2 points per flour token. So those are going to be scoring during the game. So the more of those that you have, the more scoring that you'll have during the game. So you want to collect those as you play. The glass factory right here, the number 7, will work exactly the same way. When you put a worker there, you will take one of the glass tokens, and as soon as all these glass tokens are taken, then a scoring will happen. Each one of these are going to be worth 3. A little bit harder to get would be the 7s. These will be worth 3 points, where the flour is only worth 2. Now this tile right here has an 8 on it. These are called farms. Whenever you take a farm location, you will also score a point for each farm you had. So if I had a farm there and I place him there, then I would get 2 points. If this was the setup and I already had 2 there and I placed an 8 there, I would get 3 coins. So the more farms you have, every time you place a worker on it, you're going to get more coins, and coins are victory points. The ends are the number 9, and when you take one of those, you're going to get one of these. And when there are 3 buildings occupied in this, you will turn it over to the beer side of it. And what that's going to allow you to do when you're on the beer side of it is allow you to get points each turn. You receive 1 coin for each active tile you have. So each one of these beer steins that you have, you will get a coin each round. Remember, if somebody takes this from you, then they will be able to gain this from you and gain those coins, which are victory points, every single round. Number 10 is going to be a town hall. You're going to have a printed coin here. This one's worth 8, this one's worth 8, and that one's worth 8. This one's worth 7. So at the end of the game, these will score. Remember, you can never take these away. If you do not have a town hall at the end of the game, you will lose 5 coins. The churches, at the end of the game, whoever has the most will get 10 coins. Whoever has the second most will get 6. And if you have the bishop during the game, you're going to gain a coin during the game for each church that you occupy. So these are end-of-game scoring and a little bit of scoring during the game. Number 12 is the last building. This is the manor. When you take to occupy that, you always get the number that's listed here. In this case, 2. This one's 3. And this one is 5. Whoever has the most coins at the end of the game will be your winner. Now, if you ever roll doubles or have doubles and you utilize them together, then you're able to take the bishop. So if I had these 2 5s, I could take the bishop token. Remember, the bishop token, each time it's your turn, you're going to score a coin for each one of these that you have. If on the next turn, if somebody else rolled doubles, then they can take the bishop away from you, and they will score a coin for each church that they have. Now, you can also combine any 2 dice. Instead of placing somebody out, you can take one of these special actions, which give you rerolls during the game. So if you didn't want to play somebody or couldn't for some reason, you can take one of these. This will give you a reroll later on. Who should buy this game? Simply the printing wasn't done correctly. The tiles don't work as is. I would say nobody. If you really just want to play this game, then I would say go ahead, buy it and contact the company. They'll give you a rule set that works for it. But for me, I prefer to have a game that isn't broken out of the box, that the printing was done. I mean, we're not talking about here a misprint of a word. Maybe it says Montreal instead of Denver. I'm talking about in order for it to work, the tiles have to be a certain way. Otherwise, you get into an infinite loop and the game will never end. We were playing this game way too long one time because we got into an infinite loop and we just couldn't figure out what we were doing wrong. We weren't. The company did something wrong. It was printed. They didn't have another printing for us. So it's just garbage to me. So this is an absolute purge. You should not waste your time. And there's a future printing. I would say beware because you just don't know what you're going to get. Because if there's something wrong, they're not going to fix it. It's just my feeling. So absolute purge for me.
Thanks for watching the video. I really appreciate you tuning in. If you liked it, please like it and hit that little subscribe button. That really helps out the channel. Lets us know that you're getting the videos that you want. If you agreed or disagree with what I said, feel free to comment below. I'd love to hear what you have to say. And I promise that I will comment back. Thanks for watching. And everybody else, keep playing.